everyone. Babula and I are back with you to talk about the, oh my God, I've forgotten already, new moon in Pisces.
Yeah.
And the ensuing planetary movements in this lunar cycle. And I don't know about you, Babula, but Pisces I thought was supposed to be fairly slow and, flowing and a bit dreamy, but man, it's been busy. What's going on?
No, it's been a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do we start? Well, of course, we can speak about that in terms of Pisces, which we definitely will with the new moon coming up.
Yeah.
It's quite a strong one. But of course, there's other things happening in other signs as well. But, Pisces is one of those signs. It's a sign of duality. There are two fish, and things can get a bit complicated. And I think a big part of what often happens with Pisces energy is that things happen that are out of our control. Things just happen. And, that part of we humans that likes to feel like, we've got control of things and we've got our hands on the rein and we've got everything under, organized.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like Pisces can be like a tidal wave of water, or just energies or events or things happening, and there's no choice, nothing to do really but keep surrendering to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to. And also maybe crossing a few things off that to-do list.
Yeah. I think you touched on a good word there, surrender.
Yeah.
Because there is that mystical aspect to it, and mystical and spiritual. And those experiences, when we have them, we often have to surrender some part of ourselves to move through it, don't we? Those experiences.
That's right. We do. And often that's as simple as just let go of your plan for the day, because clearly something else is happening and needs your attention that you didn't plan, and that can come in all kinds of ways. And I think if you look in the chart to see where Pisces is in your chart, what house, for those who know the houses in their chart, then that's the area of life where in this lifetime your soul, your being, yourself, your human self is learning a great deal about surrender, that, no, not everything is under our control.
Yeah.
And that might be in the fourth house to do with your home life and family and so on. It might be in the 10th house related to your career and your role and your function out in the world and so on. So, or in the 6th house of your health, things just happen. And I always find with Pisces, like a good thing to remember is to be very fluid. Just really fluid. You just got to be fluid and flexible.
Yeah, it's a very humbling experience, isn't it? Because it does put you in your place. Because we tend to go around experiencing life, without a nod to God, so to speak, that and we sort of see ourselves at the top of the pile, but these experiences come along and go, nah, you're not in control at all.
That's right. That's right. That's right. There's something else going on here that's not in my control. Yeah. It is very humbling. Yeah. And, there's a lot going on in Pisces currently with the Sun and Mercury, and Venus is about to go into Pisces in March, and then Mars is going to go into Pisces later in March, and we've got the new moon in Pisces conjunct Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So we are awash with that energy currently. And I think, coming back to that symbolism of the two fish, I think is very helpful. It's that dual experience of the agony and the ecstasy of life, the bliss and the exquisite, ecstatic, transcendent experiences that it offers, but also the human pain and suffering and struggle that it also includes.
Yeah, and I think out of those experiences comes that I love that saying, pearl of great price.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're being robbed.
Yeah,
But you know, we inside of us something is brewing and being created and
that's right.
coming out like a diamond.
Coming out like a diamond. And so we are humbled, we become more passionate, more understanding of other people, and we go through our own stuff and things that we can't control, you know. Like, yeah. And we can't control other people's behavior, you know, and they can throw a spanner in the works through no fault of their own. I'm not talking about blame here, just things happen that impact your day, your situation. You can have an accident and suddenly you're out of action for a couple of months. Well, I'm sure we didn't plan that, you know.
Yeah. And you know, I was thinking, because it's Pisces is an escapist, however you say it.
Yes.
Yeah, so so on the other hand, it tries to escape all of that.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's right.
Is it wine o'clock? Where's that glass of wine?
That's right. Yeah, so that I can make everything feel better.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. A little bit of numbing. And again, no judgment there. You know, life is challenging, and
Oh, it is.
you know, if a glass of wine helps after a really rough day, have a glass of wine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. And you know, wine is ruled by Neptune Pisces. It's a natural, and I'm not saying whether that's good or bad at all. I'm just, you know, this is understanding. You know, Pisces, in Pisces, we understand it's beyond knowledge. You know, you can't get the true knowledge that Pisces offers by doing a course or reading it in a book. You know, it all has to be experienced and felt, and it's then you go, okay, now I understand. Now
Yeah,
I get.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's that compassion too.
that's right. Yeah.
Mm.
So there you go. There's a little rave about Pisces. Well, we're all swimming in it, you know, at the moment. I saw a beautiful image that came up online this morning. I'd never seen it before. I love to collect images because I love to use them in my work. And it was a beautiful painting. The artist was acknowledged as unknown by the writer, and it was a like a mermaid swimming up through the ocean, and just, you know, her face was just coming to the surface, and an angel had flown down, and they were almost like kissing, this angel from the heavens and this you know, mermaid from the waters. It was so exquisite, and I thought, what a beautiful image for Pisces, you know,
Yeah,
the symbolism again of the two fish.
yeah, yeah. So,
Good. Yeah.
mm, interesting.
So that brings us to all right, so let's just have a look at, you know, break all this down. So on March the 9th, which is the day before the new moon, the planet Mercury has been now in Pisces for a couple of weeks. Mercury is our thinking mind. Some of you might be feeling like, where did my thinking mind go? You know, like you might be feeling a bit confused or discombobulated. Actually, I have been feeling a little bit discombobulated of late, just like,
Me too. Yeah,
you
doing
know, a
double
bit,
takes on everything.
yeah, a bit all like, what am I doing now? Like
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah.
So as Mercury comes to the end of Pisces on the 9th and still on the 10th of the new moon, Mercury makes a conjunction with Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, in Pisces at 27. So, you know, that's there as we come into the new moon, and the new moon's on the 10th, around 7 o'clock in the evening. So of course we won't see it. You know, we're coming into the dark of the moon now, and the dark of the moon is always energetically a time to pause, to rest, to reflect, to not embark on big new projects or ideas, you know, to unwind, to just take that moment, if we can, to let that old cycle, you know, fall away. And it's in Pisces,
That's a double
which is the
whammy.
last, which is the last sign of the zodiac, conjunct Neptune, the ruling planet of Pisces, and also conjunct Saturn on the other side. So
That's interesting.
So I might just hold this up for those who'd like to see it. You can see there's the new moon at 20 degrees of Pisces. The moon and the sun are together. And there's Neptune at 27, so it's 7 degrees away. And there's Saturn on the other side at 11 degrees. So that new moon is sandwiched between, Saturn, which is all kind of meat and potatoes and reality in Pisces, and Neptune, the transcendent mystical influence. And the new moon's sitting there right between it. So that's, people might say, what does that mean? Well, how long have we got? It's how long's a piece of string? It's one of those things that it can mean a lot of different things for different people. But I will acknowledge that, I would say that's not particularly an easy, high energy, get up and go, kind of a combination. I think it really does require some pause and some quiet and reflection and rest, as much as that's available to us, because as most of us will have experienced, if we're not responding to the natural flow of things or what our own intuition is actually telling us, that's when often things happen that are more problematical, like we might hurt our body, or there might be a big fight or an argument with somebody, only because, we weren't really paying attention and following our own inner guidance system, that was saying, actually, you really need a break.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I'm recalling though something I looked up, Pisces. Well, that would be a soft tissue thing, but the organs, is it kidneys and something else? I can't remember. Can you refresh my memory?
Yes, no, Libra's more the kidneys.
Oh, that's right.
So in Pisces, we're talking about the feet.
Oh, the feet. Oh, where did I get that wrong?
That's okay. And so Pisces is the feet. And just yesterday, I was out in the garden. I had an urge to do some pruning. So I did, and I enjoyed it. And I got bitten on the toe by one of those big black ants.
Oh, right.
And it really hurt. And my toe's still really sore, and now it's getting really itchy. And, just that reminder, like Pisces will often bring our attention to our feet. And sometimes it will do it in ways that are unpleasant to really bring our attention to our feet, where are you putting your feet? So Pisces is the feet. It's also the immune system, which can be quite vulnerable in Pisces. Pisces people, and people with a lot of that Neptune energy, their immune system isn't always super strong and robust, and it needs support. And that will include things like meditation, rest, clean diet, those kinds of things. There can often be sensitivities to food, so you just have to just pay attention to all those kinds of things.
I'm thinking the feet up to the base chakra. Yeah, it's the first chakra, and which is about grounding.
Yeah.
And Pisces want to,
absolutely. That's the natural inclination.
Yeah, so it's also about being on the planet too.
That's right. And it's that second fish that has swum down, and the pull to go back up.
Yes. Yeah.
That's right. So the feet are always reminding us when there are planets going through Pisces, or if we have a lot of Pisces in our chart, come back, be here.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? Yep. And, it might be, slow down or just stop, take a breath, those kinds of things. So and for some people, this new moon might be incredibly beautiful. You may be in a situation, and because a lot of it depends on our current circumstances, what's going on in our life right now as to how we experience these energies. So if you happen to be away on a silent meditation retreat for 10 days over this new moon, hallelujah, how beautiful is that? That could be absolutely a perfect place to be. Or on a holiday, 3-week holiday at the beach, where you don't have to do a single thing, and you've timed it beautifully, So, but if you're in a situation where you're under a lot of pressure for whatever reason, then this could be more challenging.
Yeah.
Because everything in you just wants to just stop.
I already feel like that.
Yeah. And Saturn is masterful at rubbing our nose in it and sort of saying, well, and this is what happens when you don't pay attention. You don't listen to that call, or you don't. And sometimes that might include, we'll have to make a tough decision or choice, like cancelling certain things that you feel maybe it's your work. You have to cancel appointments, your own appointments for a couple of days. And you feel really bad about it. We don't do those things lightly, but sometimes that's what you just need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, an interesting new moon, but I think the message is really clear for those couple of days as much as possible. It's a new moon. It's the dark of the moon. It's in the last sign of the zodiac. It's in Pisces, and it's conjunct Neptune and Saturn. So I think that's a very clear message to do whatever each person knows supports them to take time out. It might be something creative. It might be art or whatever that is. All those things are included. Pisces, yeah.
Pisces wouldn't like that conjunction with Saturn.
No, it's not.
Too boundary creating, too hampering,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's a very boundary-less kind of sign. Yeah. And wants to just drift off and be in its own beautiful state or space, and there's Saturn, be here now. Right, life needs you, or this child needs you, or the situation's arisen, come on, get it together, kind of thing.
Here's the tarmac, touchdown.
That's right. But but look, also on the 10th, on the same day, as often happens, there's other things going on that are very different to everything we've just said. Why life gets tricky. So Mars is moving through Aquarius and gets to 20 degrees of Aquarius and makes a square to Uranus, which is the case all this week, but it happens to be exact on the 10th, on the day of the new moon. And that's a much more dynamic, even volatile combination of energies.
Yeah, squaring Uranus and Taurus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. So, anytime you get Mars, a planet of action and heat, making a strong contact with the planet Uranus, the great disruptor, and energy of the rebel, you've got some pretty dynamic things going on. So it could be something like around this period of the new moon, of this couple of days, like you might have a plan to just relax, but something happens, something suddenly happens, which is a very Mars Uranus energy.
Yeah.
And oh no, I have to deal with this because something's suddenly taken place. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a major problem. I'm just trying to sort of explain the kinds of energies that are moving. But also, gone.
I was going to say, I was communicating with a friend in New Zealand a couple of days ago, and she said they'd had quite a few earthquakes. And I'm thinking, what's earthquake energy, isn't it?
It really is.
In Taurus, particularly that earth sign. Yeah.
It really is. And Uranus Mars is quite a common significator in the charts of major earthquakes and big weather events, big wild storms and volcanoes, that kind of an energy. Or it can also be big movements of people out in the streets, rebellions. It's a very strong combination. And so when I look at all that together, it could be, we know from the past when there's been a major earthquake somewhere on the planet, and there's been a lot of destruction, there's a lot of grief that can come with that, or a major storm event that might involve a lot of water, which is very Pisces. That wreaks a lot of havoc and destruction.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure whether it was the new moon or the full moon, but I was reading somewhere, or I'd heard from a friend of mine who's also an astrologer, that's right, said that when the moon is in a water sign, there's often rain that follows.
Yes.
Is it the new moon or the full moon, or it doesn't matter?
I don't think it really matters, but I would say this new moon could particularly be represented by major rain events. It is in Pisces and it is conjunct Neptune, the ruler of Pisces and the god of the seas and so on. Yeah. So, and then also on that day, Mercury actually leaves Pisces and moves into Aries.
Yeah.
And is in Aries by the time of the new moon that evening. So it's all through the day. Mercury's, at 29 degrees of Pisces, and by the early evening, it's moved into Aries. So that's a change of energy. So it's quite a strong, interesting new moon.
Yeah, and you're right. This is where it does get complicated when people are learning astrology.
That's right.
Emphasize all that.
That's right. Exactly. And people always ask, and I totally understand why. They say, well, what does all that mean? Well, where
do I start? Yeah.
There's no one sentence explanation for that. And everybody will experience these energies differently according to their own chart and current life circumstances.
Yes, I suppose living the experience of that mishmash and then looking back. And this is why I find astrology is very useful, to look back.
Yes.
Because you go, oh, that explains it,
Exactly. And so you're learning and it's helping us to make sense of it all. And and so, for those particular events are going to trigger something exactly in their chart, like this new moon's at 20 degrees of Pisces. So for people with planets around that degree of any of the four mutable signs, which are Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius, around that 20 degree, give or take a few degrees, that new moon will be important for them. And when I say important, again, I really want to reinforce it can be important in challenging ways, but it might also be really helpful and beneficial. And very often, as we know, the challenging life experiences in the end often turn out to be really beneficial.
Yeah, well,
because of the growth experience and what comes out of it, in the long run. So, okay. And remember, Aries, and so we're in that period now where there's a lot going on in Pisces, the last sign. There's also currently quite a bit going on in Aries, the first sign, because we've still got the Chiron North Node conjunction. And throughout March, the Sun and Mercury will be moving into Aries. So we're in that kind of zone of the last sign and the first sign. So on March the 12th, Venus, who's been in Aquarius for the last 3 weeks, happily using her intelligence and social networks and connecting and so on, moves into the sign of Pisces. So Venus, that beautiful bright star in the sky, the goddess, the feminine, the principle of love and beauty and all things lovely, happily moves into Pisces. She likes being in Pisces.
Yeah, she brings that more depth of emotion, doesn't she?
Yes. And real, like people who are born with Venus in Pisces have a natural compassion and sense of oneness, and they tend to naturally understand other people and have compassion. There's a sort of a beautiful, gentle quality when Venus is in Pisces. Beautiful for any kind of artistic expression, music, dance, the arts. Very, 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 it's like the muse. There's an open channel to the muse. It's really gorgeous for that. If there's any challenging quality to Venus in Pisces, it can be romantic idealism that can lead to disappointment and heartbreak. Because it's so romantic.
Yes, yeah. So you're looking around and seeing the potential in possible partners, but then you actually get to know them and go, oh,
that's right. That's right. And the illusion is shattered.
Yes, yes.
That's right. That's right. But it's very beautiful. And it can also be romance in the sense of, the romantic poets writing beautiful poetry and music about nature and love and, all of that. So Venus goes into Pisces on the 12th. And they're moving through March. On the 17th, the sun continuing to move through Pisces, 1 degree per day, joins with Neptune at 27 of Pisces. So that'll be quite a strong kind of Neptunian sort of a day. And then on the 20th, there's an important event that occurs on the 20th, which happens every time, every year at this time, not always exactly on the 20th, but close to. The sun leaves Pisces and goes into Aries. And that's at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Brisbane time.
Happy birthday, Earth.
Yes, because that is the autumn equinox in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
And the true beginning of autumn, regardless of what the calendars say, and the general consensus says that autumn starts on the 1st of March. I think they say that. It actually starts, season in terms of actual seasons, when the sun goes into the sign of Aries. And and the equinoxes and solstices are a moment of pause, when the sun is sort of at a standstill. It's reached its maximum point south of the equator. And no, sorry, it's on the equator. The summer solstice is when it reaches the maximum point south of the equator. So it's lined up with the Earth's equator, which stretches out into what they call the celestial equator. So it's at this point of perfect balance, and of night and day being equal. But it's a real change of energies. The sun comes out of the waters of Pisces and steps forth into new sense of purpose and vitality. And very often, if we're paying attention, we'll feel like this, oh, I'm ready to move, I'm ready for action,
Which is interesting going towards the cooler weather in Australia, because we tend to want to hibernate then, don't we?
That's right. That's right, we do.
Yeah.
Whereas in the north, of course, this is their spring equinox, which is perfectly represented by 0 degrees of Aries, where suddenly, spring has sprung and there's that sense of new life. But I think in here, we start to get a bit of a sense of relief, of a bit of cooler weather after it's been a pretty rough summer.
Yeah, it has for us in Australia. And I've just, woke up yesterday and went, oh, hello, autumn, because it was just so cool and fresh. It's a sense of freshness, even though the leaves will start dropping, in autumn, and compost for the plant and trees themselves. But there's still a sense of, like you say, that relief of, oh, so much, not just temperature, but, life in general.
Yeah.
It sort of flows through our whole system.
Yes, I noticed that yesterday too. There was actually a breeze instead of this heavy, dense cloud humidity and no air movement. The sky was much clearer. There was breeze. Yeah, very refreshing. So we're still in that kind of crossover. There's still a lot going on in Pisces, but planets are starting to move into Aries. So Mercury's already gone into Aries at the new moon. The sun will be in Aries on the 20th. On the 21st, Mercury will make a conjunction with Chiron at 18 degrees of Aries. That's significant because on the 2nd of April, Mercury gets almost to the end of Aries, and then he stops or stations and turns back and begins a 3-week retrograde phase. So all through April, through most of April, Mercury is going to be retrograde in Aries. So Mercury is now going to be in Aries for longer than usual. When he's at full speed, just moving forward, he's in a sign for about 3 weeks. Because of the retrograde phase, it's going to be around 6 weeks that he'll be in the sign of Aries, so longer than usual. Mercury in Aries is straight talking.
Yes, yes.
Right? Mind moving fast. Ideas coming really fast, wanting to act on our ideas, arguments, heated discussions and conversations.
Yes.
If you felt like your mind's been in a bit of a muddle while it's been in Pisces, or just having these amazing, dreams and imaginings, and imagination might have been really high. When it goes into Aries, that mind is ready to act and move and be more like an arrow.
It's getting clarity.
Yes.
About things that we may have been mulling over for a while, or we're just confused about.
That's right.
And then it goes, I've got
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. While Mercury's in Aries, it's actually going to make 3 conjunctions with Chiron, the wounded healer, and the North Node, which is in Aries. So I wanted to mention that because that's quite significant, that that's going to be a part of Mercury's journey through Aries, this real connection with Chiron to do with wounding and healing in Aries. What are the wounds associated with Aries? And the dharmic karmic North Node, a sense of purpose and how we're evolving and moving forwards. And Aries is all about pushing forwards.
Yes. So that Chiron in Aries is, it can be about our personal identity, the questions around who am I?
Exactly. That's right.
What am I about? That sort of thing.
That's right. And what do I want? And
what am I doing?
And is it okay to want what I want? And if it is, how do I do that? And what do I need to do?
Yeah, so we may get clarity on some of that.
Yeah, yeah. And be ready to feel more ready to act on things, to take action. That's a sign of action.
And explore too, because they're exploring.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always ready for the next new thing, pushing into the new, like a spear, like a ram with its head down, charging forward. So, and then on the 22nd, there'll be a conjunction of Venus with Saturn in Pisces. And look, for some people, sometimes when Venus makes contact with Saturn, that can be a real commitment in a relationship. Just for a simple example, a couple might have been seeing each other for a while, and on a conjunction like this, they get really clear and decide to commit, or they go, yeah, no, you're not the one for me, and move on. There can be a real clarity, and you'll often find in relationship charts between two people, if it's a good, strong relationship that lasts over time and is able to go through challenges and hold together, it's often because there's strong Saturn-Venus connections between the two charts, that helps them to endure and not just give up at the slightest difficulty.
Yes, yeah. Good point.
Yeah, Saturn's good like that, It's like, hang in there and do the work, or see this through, or, do what needs to be done here.
Yeah.
If someone's a creative, it might be a time when you get very, very productive with your creative work. Venus is in Pisces. She loves all the creative arts and expression of that. Conjunct Saturn, it could be very productive, business-like even. Yeah.
Turning at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm processing what you're saying.
Yeah, and thinking about it, and how yeah, how you can relate to that.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Then on March the 23rd, Mars, which is the ruling planet of Aries, will leave Aquarius. So Mars has been in Aquarius now for 6 weeks. Yep. Well, it will have been by the time it gets to here. So on the 23rd, it will leave Aquarius and move into Pisces, you see. So the Aries planet will now be in Pisces. So we've still got a lot going on in Pisces. Now, that's an interesting one.
Trying to soften it a bit.
Yes, it absolutely can do. You know, Mars is all action, warrior, fight, assertion, stand up for your rights, especially in Aries, in Aquarius, stand up for your rights.
Yes.
When it gets into Pisces, like it's almost like I'm just making a joke of it, but it's like Mars in Aquarius is out there leading the marches. And when it moves into Pisces, that leader goes, oh, I'm tired. I need a rest. You know? I need to recoup my energies.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Or the warrior needs to take a break and, you know, clean his sword and repair his sword, or just, I often find people with Mars in Aries, if they're spiritually inclined.
You mean Mars in Pisces or Mars?
Oh, sorry, Mars in Pisces. Right. Thank you. Those who are spiritually inclined with Mars in Pisces, the drive that they have, because Mars is our drive.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, what drives us. They're driven by their spiritual goals or interests, you know, that they're really motivated to follow that quite significantly. They might also be very motivated to be of service in some way. They might work in charities and that kind of thing. You know, their energy and their drive and their motivation is to actively be in compassionate service to others. You know, because in Pisces, it's always beyond the self.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just thinking, Mars in Pisces, could it be, you know, that the warrior stops and goes, I see the higher purpose in this battle, or I see the higher purpose and I lay down my weapon, or something like that.
Yes, absolutely. There's that connection to the divine, to spirit, to, you know, whatever is our way of understanding that. So in some cases, it could literally be the sacred warrior, you know, the spiritual warrior who is in service to some higher calling, and his actions are motivated by that. You know, they come from elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's an understanding of, it's not about what I want, it's about, I just somehow I know this is what I need to do.
Yeah, I'm just thinking a vision of Joan of Arc here.
Yeah.
I just wonder what her chart was.
I often refer to her chart, actually. When I'm teaching, I often do. And I can't remember offhand. Is it in Virgo? I'm trying to remember.
Right.
Which is very much about service too. And remember, she was, you know, the Virgin.
Yeah.
Kind
of understanding, though.
Yeah. And, you know, the message from God and leading the army of men, extraordinary. So Mars in Pisces is having to hear that Mars energy that wants to always, you know, push forward, has to be very adaptable and swim with the flow and literally go with the flow and move in a very fluid, surrendered kind of a way. It's like that. To me, it's often that image of the warrior holding his sword, but in Pisces, he has to hold the sword very lightly. It's like a divining rod.
Yes, yeah.
Like a water diviner has to hold the rod very lightly and let the rod show the way rather than his or her personal will determine the outcome. Yeah. So, yes, interesting, isn't it? About being responsive and very adaptable. And then that leads us to the full moon in this current cycle, which is going to be a very important one because it's a lunar eclipse. So the new moon in Pisces coming up on the 10th is actually marking the start of this eclipse season in the first half of the year. And so the sun will have moved into Aries. So the sun will be at 5 degrees of Aries on the 25th, opposite the full moon at 5 degrees of Libra, and the sun and the moon will be aligned with the south node and the north node. So the full moon eclipse, the eclipse full moon, will be sitting with the south node. So it's a south node lunar eclipse, which highlights themes and issues around the past and old patterns and so on. And in Libra, everything to do with relationships, partnerships, agreements.
What about seeking equilibrium?
Equilibrium, balance, harmony. Yep, justice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Righting wrongs, bringing things back into balance. Yeah. Anything to do with, contracts and agreements is very Libra, the law, agreements between two people, legal documents, marriage agreements. Yeah, agreement.
It's about others, isn't it?
What's that?
About others as opposed to,
yes,
which is complete opposite. It's about me,
That's right.
But Libra's all about others. Yeah,
that's right. And so with quite a lot going on in Aries, which is about our own individual independent autonomy, and that South Node full moon eclipse, importantly, it's an eclipse. In Libra, it's that incredible need for each to acknowledge the other, the individual, independent, autonomous self.
Yeah.
But there's also other people in the story, in the document. And where's the balance between those two polarities in our life? And that's an issue for everybody, isn't it?
It is. And I'm thinking people pleasing, so it's like a time to look at, are we doing too much of the other? Are we doing too much? Are we not enough for ourselves? And
that's right. Yeah. Which side is the seesaw swinging? What's the dominant side of that seesaw? And of course, lunar eclipses, they occur when the light of the moon, the full moon, is blotted out because the earth passes, but so the sun and the moon are like this, they're opposite each other from Earth's point of view, and the earth comes in to sit exactly between them, and so the light of the sun hits the earth and can't reach the moon. And for the ancients, these events were hugely important and were often regarded as portents of calamity and tragedy. Kings would die, wars would happen. They were always regarded as really extremely important events. And it is true, very often big events happen in the world around eclipse times. And of course, this eclipse will be important for anyone with planets around that 5 degree point of Libra and or Aries. So there's a lot happening, and then I really wanted to touch on April, even though we're not there yet, because we're coming into quite a strong couple of months. And I knew even in November when I was, preparing the workshop for the 2024 transits, I just went, whoa, look at April. April really stood out.
Well, I've been looking at lots of astrology on the internet, and it's something that everyone's talking about, this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction.
Exactly. Everyone's talking about it. And it's a combination of Mercury's retrograde in Aries. It's the Aries time of the year. There's a total, very important solar eclipse occurring on the 9th of April, conjunct Chiron and the North Node. It's going to be visible right across kind of central to northeast United States. It's an extremely important eclipse for the United States. Very powerful, very significant. And then on the 21st of April, there's another very important astrological event, the conjunction of Jupiter with Uranus, around 22 of Taurus. So we'll unpack all of that as we get there. But and again, I say this not to don't freak people out. My God, I always say, when people go, "Oh my God," I always say, think about how many years you've been alive and how many major astrological movements and transits and so on you've been through in your life, and here we are, we're still standing, and life goes on.
It does. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
But we're in a time of, rapid change and rapid evolution. And it's at periods like this that we're coming into now, eclipse season, and that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, when things tend to accelerate and heighten. And for many people, that can be just major breakthroughs, something that's been building up for, and I include in that spiritually. For some people, they might have a massively important spiritual breakthrough, like it could be for some, they've been in a marriage or a relationship that's been struggling for a couple of years and deeply unhappy, and it could be during a time like this where it just that's it, I'm done, I can't do it anymore, or a job or a career, or you suddenly go, I need to pack up and move to Italy or something. It can be in big decisions and choices people make that change the course of their life in ways that are really fantastic for them. But, the playing out of that can be a bit, dramatic and eventful, of course, or the birth of a child at a time like this. Children
No, finish, sorry.
I was just going to say, children who are born around eclipses, and you can tell in a chart if someone's born at an eclipse, just by looking at it, they usually have very significant, very eventful, I'll even use the word important, lives. And very commonly, well-known people in the world depart this world around eclipse times as well. That's quite common.
Interesting. Often. Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. So watch this space. Lots coming up.
Oh, well, yes, that's a lot to digest too. I felt like that last time we did a recording as well. Like, but there's a lot of Piscean energy, isn't it? It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's very water. The water element is very strong right now. And so, yes, there's a lot of water happening in Australia. There's a lot of flooding and so on. But just, what is our relationship with water? I think even just having a consciousness around water itself, in whatever way that speaks to us, I think that's a really valuable, helpful thing. Water. What are we doing with water? What kind of water are we drinking? Where are we sourcing our water from?
How clean is our water? Who's doing it? I mean, these are big things like ocean cleanups and
absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's in the water coming out of our taps? I'm noticing that issue is starting to come forward more and more, which is interesting. The oceans, the seas, are we drinking enough? Do we need to be bathing and really just relaxing in a bath, or getting into the sea, or immersing ourselves in? I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because water in Christian tradition, which is a very Piscean kind of a thing, baptism happens with water. And I think on some profound spiritual level, there is something about the immersion in water that can be really important spiritually. Yeah, many rituals are performed with water.
Oh, moon water. I often make my own moon water.
Exactly.
Yes. Put the water moon overnight. Yeah.
That's right. And solar water too, for energy and vitality, you know, and just putting blessings and intention into the water, the work of Dr. Emoto, that wonderful Japanese man, and what he discovered with water. I mean, you know, water absorbs energy, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
And thoughts and intention, and yeah.
It can be encoded with patterns. That's why we use more moon water and solar water. Yeah.
Yes, and you know what kind of water is being used in flower essences, and you know the vibrations of water, all these things.
Lots and lots.
Yeah.
I'm feeling soggy, so I better go and dry out.
Remember, Aries is coming, it's fire. So if you know, water and fire, water and fire, water and fire.
Lots of steam.
Yeah. Yeah. We have had lots of steam, haven't we? Lots of
we have, yeah. Well, thank you for all that information. That's very interesting. I'm going to have to go back and have another listen to all this, because there's a lot in that.
Yeah, well, I hope it's helpful and helps everyone to sort of navigate their way through the next period.
So if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe so you get notices about the future episodes. And if you feel so inclined, please share with your friends and other astromaniacs out there. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you again at our next Astrology Now episode. So until then, stay safe, be well. Bye.
Thanks, Cheryl. Bye.
Bye.